Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, December 30th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5 card spread? First card flying out. One more, please. Oh, is the other one going to be problematic? Come on. Come out. Come out to play. Come on. There we go. First two cards in our first two cards that we're starting today with, guys. It's emotional. Let it go. Just let it go. Let it go. Let this be the new moon that you let it go. You release it. Like just let it go. Release it. Why do we see these two cards right now? Because a lot of the work that we see that is being navigated right now, especially with this new moon in Capricorn energy, right? Because it's heavy, right? It's a lot of that work in recognizing, and we're going to talk about this right now because this was a major theme that was coming up in the holiday collective read that I did with Mercy Me Tarot and another amazing group of spiritual professionals. I'm going to be posting the link to that conversation on my Substack. Mercy did say that she was going to be putting it up as on her place where we keep videos. So as soon as I have it, I'm definitely going to send that link to you guys because, a lot of the conversation that we were having yesterday in that reading or in that reading, that conversation that almost felt like a reading had a lot to do with navigating manifestation goals and moving in energetic accordance with them. When we move towards manifestation goals, the reason a manifestation is not a wish is because we move in accordance to it, right? It's not like we don't just sit there. If you want ice cream, right? If you want ice cream, you don't just sit in a chair and say, "Hey, universe, I want ice cream." Where's the ice cream? Why do you hate me? Why won't you bring me ice cream? Like, why won't you bring me ice cream, universe? And the universe is sitting there and the universe is like, you got a car outside, don't you? Like, you got money in the pocket, don't you? You have all of the tools available to you to move towards the ice cream, right? So a lot of that work right now is recognizing and identifying what it is that we aspire to move towards and what it is going to energetically take to get there, right? And that work, it's bittersweet, right? Like this is what we talk about when we talk about a proper resolution. A proper resolution, a manifestation requires resolve. A manifestation requires resolve. That is the theme. That is the theme for our new moon in Capricorn energy, which makes a lot of sense because if there's anyone who understands resolve, it is Capricorn energy. A manifestation requires resolve. So that sense of, again, I want you to move towards your manifestations today, building into resolutions that move like they are in accordance to those manifestations, right? Because that is the difference between a dream and a manifestation, right? Like a dream might be a wish that your heart makes, but a manifestation is what you put your action towards. So a lot of that work that we see right now, and I have to say, a lot of that is also recognizing what one aspires for, but what allows for that space, and this is what's really important too, a lot of that letting go process that we were talking about yesterday in that conversation, which is when we are in those spaces of disappointment, when we're navigating energetic despair in relationality to manifestation goals, when we're looking at something and saying, why isn't it coming through? The thing we have to say to ourselves instead is, why am I so focused on it coming through this way? Why am I in that space that I'm looking at something and saying it has to be this way, right? Like a lot of that work that we often have, and especially when it requires like healing karma, is like we look at someone and we say like, hey, what are you doing? You're not acting like the proper manifestation. Why aren't you acting like the proper manifestation? Forgetting the fact that maybe that's the tip, like that is the recognition point of saying the question we need to ask ourselves in that moment is, why am I so focused that the blessing must come through this? Why am I so focused that it must come through this way? Because it's when that moment, when we narrow our perspective, we close our eyes to the possibilities around us. So let this be a new moon energy that is expansive, that is explorative, right? Like say, like actively listen to the universe in collaboration with the work that you're doing and say like, listen, this is what I want to bring in. If this isn't the way that it's coming through, what else can I try? What else can I do? How can I adapt? What do I have to change within myself, right? Because that ability of being flexible, right? While still moving with intentionality and staying in accordance with the self. Like we see even now, this is a lot of hope that may be being navigated right now. But again, sometimes that space of finding hope is when we learn to release what doesn't feel like it's energetically for us, right? Center card in our 5-card spread for today is, come on out. There's that 3 of Swords, right? That's the letting go process, right? It's we hold ourselves, like we hold ourselves in a state, like we hold ourselves in a state of sacredness when we honor the pain of our journey. When we honor the pain of our journey, then it's not those feelings that of experiencing something and saying that something has come for naught or something isn't going the way that we desired or aspired it to, right? We allow for those experiences that we see that work is sacred, right? Because even if we navigate pain on a pathwork that's sacred, it doesn't feel like it's for naught because it moves us in accordance with recognizing and finding that pathwork of wisdom. And so we see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating this, I feel, and I would not be surprised today if today also feels like a day wherein you're releasing a lot of grief, right? That you're letting go of things, right? Because that's that space of saying, I'm letting go of it because I cared about it. And that love is never energetically lost because that love that we feel towards things, it does not depart. It does not depart with others that depart from us. It is the understanding that a heart that hurts is a heart that feels. Right? That is what we talk about when we express that idea of the sacred pain, because the pain that we carry is evidence of the love that we feel and the compassion that we feel for all around us. So I see even now like a lot of that energy honoring one's own journey and honoring even the parts that hurt, right? Like this isn't this is what we talk about with like that sensor space of like confronting our own energetic shadows, right? We don't avoid that. We sit with it. We say that is sacred because it is a part of me. And a lot of that work we see right now, it's heavy, but it also feels like there's a lot of that clarity in relationality to making those points of accommodation, making those adaptations. It's having a different impact right now on masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, right? For feminine energy, we're seeing even now that a lot of this work that we're seeing has more to do, like this may feel very, like a lot of emotional, like I'm going to say it right now, this is actually masculine and feminine very much in alignment today. Right? We've got both of these energies here with that cup energy in its reversal. But like that, I think that even here, seeing that cup energy in its reversal, it feels like the amplification of emotions and the reminder that the feeling of the emotionality is energetically sacred. And this is also why we see even now, and I need to point this out, the difference. And this is more of that same that we were talking about. Masculine is moving back and forth through a lot of different things right now, right? I just see like a masculine going through that work of processing a lot and a little bit of that, like a little bit of that feeling of, I want to say pickiness or choosiness that may be happening right now. Because I keep on seeing that there's something about the work that the masculine energy is doing that feels more like trying to prioritize what is going to be the priority coming into 2025. For feminine, a lot of this feels And I actually, it's interesting too, because I see that this is masculine actually, like not necessarily like working on focusing on one thing, but learning how to energetically multitask is actually what's interesting here. I just feel like a lot of this masculine energy is learning how to multitask right now, either tangibly or emotionally or etherically. For feminine, this is feminine coming into that space of the opposite, honoring how they feel, honoring their energetic perspective, almost amplifying the sense of the feminine that makes that energetic choice and then finds the ability to be very firm within it. So that's the only thing that I'm seeing even now that's very intriguing about how this is being experienced. Is for masculine, it may feel more expansive right now. For feminine, it may feel very intentional and very focused. Fourth and fifth card, and both of these energies pushing outside of their comfort zone in the process of doing that. But again, when we push outside of our comfort zone and we're intentional about it, that's the pain that feels healthy, because that's almost like stretching a muscle that we haven't used before, right? It's like the positive soreness, if you will. Fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread, before we start drilling down onto what this means for the energies in their frequencies right now, we have here our 5 of Pentacles in its upright and its 8 of Swords in its upright. Welcome to Capricorn season, which is like a little bit of this energy that says, I don't want to. And the Capricorn energy goes, doesn't matter what you want. It matters what you have to do. Like, doesn't matter what you want. Who said anything's about want, right? Because that's a little bit of that energy. And I have to stress this. That's like putting your hard hat on, right? That's like getting down to business, right? This is like doing hard, like welcome to 2025, hard part first, right? Working through that hard part, doing that hard work. A lot of this energy, and I see even now, this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. None of us want to leave our comfort zone. And we saw this we saw a couple days ago, we saw that Taurus energy that was entering with all of that like Emperor and Empress. It's cozy. I know, it's cozy where you are. You get in your groove. This is why you guys don't like the Mercury retrograde so much, because it knocks you out of your groove, right? You're like, I like it in there. I made everything as my little safe space. I know. But that's why the universe challenges you, right? Because this is almost the universe that says to you, why don't you just try it? Just try it once. Try it once. See if you like it. Try stepping out here for a minute. I know you got to get used to it, right? I know it's like the energy of the universe being like, I know it's hard. It's hard to move out of your comfort zone, but that's how we expand our comfort zone, right? There's always those moments and we hit that resistance here, and I see it even now. Like there's a lot of that resistance, but working through that right now, this is the energy that says, am I going to let my own frustration, are you going to let your, like for feminine, are you going to let your own frustration stand in the way of your manifestations? Oh, you don't like it when I say it like that. I know you don't like it when I say it like that, right? You don't like it when I say it like that. Are you going to you're going to let your frustration stand in the way of your manifestations? Okay. For masculine, are you going to let your fear stand in the way of your manifestations? Right? Are you going to worry about those anxieties getting in the way, that uncertainty? No. Absolutely not. Right? So there's a little bit of this energy here that looks at something, and I see even now like a bit of that setting in intention, saying it's hard, but the important things are always hard. That's why we do them. We don't do them. We don't do things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard and because they energetically matter, right? And so I see even now like a lot of this energy, working through that. And then this is where it's having a different impact depending on where you find yourselves on the frequency cycles. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, this is healing from the past. I'm just going to say it. We've been seeing this ever since we came out of that Mercury retrograde period. Listen, right? It's hard. When we're healing from the past says you're only going to expect this. That bad thing that happened to you, that's all you can, like, that's what the past wants to say. When we see a lot of this energy here. Welcome to the Mars in retrograde, right? The energy going the past, going anything bad is just more of the same in the future. What's the point, right? Why don't you just like can't ever you made a mistake trusting there, didn't you, right? What do we say? What do we say to that energy? You are the exception to the rule. You are not the rule, right? That is how we work through our shadow. That is how we confront. That is how we don't manifest what we're afraid of into the present. We look at it and say, that is not the rule. That is the exception to the rule. The future is unwritten, and our intentionality brings it forth. So if there's those modalities right now that you're working on the self, you're recognizing one's own limitations, you're working on healing those doubts and those fears. You don't have to walk into something blindly, but this is the energy that we give one another along the way. What is healthy partnership like? Healthy partnership is a flashlight, right? Healthy partnership is not those modalities where it feels like you're stumbling in the dark. It's those spaces that say, hey, let me try to give you as much clarity as possible. Let me do what I can to light that way for both of us. And so I see even now, like a lot of that energy stepping forward into those spaces. And it's like working through the energetic shadow. How do we work through the energetic shadow? We talk upon it. We don't react to it, right? I just keep seeing a lot of energy right now that's starting to build into new partnerships, and they're healing by not assuming that the past is repeating itself, but healing from the past by articulating upon it. Because when we articulate upon the past, and we experience those modalities of showing another our wounds, we give them the opportunity to show us if we can build trust with them via someone saying, thank you for telling me. Thank you for telling me that that's something that triggers you. I will be extremely safe with that. Thank you for telling me that that's something that harmed you. I will be extremely careful. Versus those experiences where someone said, thank you for telling me that that was something that's sensitive. I'm going to touch that a lot. Like I'm going to utilize like that. These baby steps is what I'm seeing here. And like, this is all baby steps, but here's what I'm seeing even now for energy and separation, honoring baby steps, right? That's that moment that someone steps out of their comfort zone. And when we're starting to build in the place of authenticity with them, we have that moment of profound compassion because we look at another and say, I know that small thing means everything, right? Because that is the energy. And this is what we see right now for the energy coming into divine union. And I want to say even now, there's a lot of tenderness. And I want to stress this right now. I'm going to say this because we have to talk about this. For energy coming into divine union and energy deep within divine union, that heightened sensitivity, if you will. And we're gonna keep talking about this. The Mars in retrograde. It's like everybody is feeling super sensitive. But what do we do? What do we do when we're in a space of healing? We don't project that sensitivity onto others. We don't get energetically volatile. We get compassionate. We try to meet someone where they're at. And that's a lot of that work that I see in relationality to the expression and expansion point of identifying the compassion it takes not to be energetically reactive, right? And that's hard, right? Like I can see even now, I can see like a lot of this energy coming into divine union, going through that maturation process and saying to one another, I didn't expect it to feel this way. I didn't expect it to be this way because you're seeing something from the inside, right? And that energy, feeling that, like this is the energy that navigates the hurt in moving in accordance with something that feels like it's healing you. And if these are modalities where outside of that like those circumstances or situations, someone doesn't see that with the same sacredness that you do, an inability to articulate upon it, it's not that you can change another person's perspective, but this is why we see that the energy is almost saying to themselves that that path work is such that they say like, hey, like The day may come when someone may understand. The day may come where someone is in that space that they can reconsider. I hope they find the ability to heal in the same way. So that's why we see like a lot of that energy here, building into that state of compassion, because that is the energy that when we move into divine part like union, it's what we feel within that we wish others would also share as well. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within divine union, this is feeling more, I just want to say this looks more, this is like, it's giving me like heavy, it's giving me like a lot of this masculine working through like a feeling of heavy puttering is the biggest thing I can see right now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union. Because I see even now, there's a little bit, I'm just going to tell you right now, masculine, if you're feeling a little blah right now, deep within divine union, I feel it's because like there's something about that, like there's something about that expansion process right now that like, it feels a lot like that masculine energy that's doing that work in being ready to take on something new, right? This is often, it's like I see like a little bit of this masculine energy that's working in that space of looking for an energetic challenge, right? Like something that energetically challenges. For feminine, and a lot of that, I want to say even now, like that's a bit of that that expansiveness or that exploration that I see is occurring at this time. For feminine, that's why these energies are in different modalities right now. This is feminine focusing. This is feminine working on what their focus is. So even now, I keep seeing that the gift that the energy deep within divine union is giving each other is the space to inhabit the space you need to be able to have an energetic breakthrough, right? Like this is just the energy. This is more of the energy deep within divine union, vibe checking one another and giving each other the gift of what the other needs at that moment. Continuing to get clarification between our Queen of Cups in its reversal, in combination with our Nine of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Moon card, which is very apropos considering that we're finding ourselves in this new moon energy, which I believe the new moon is reaching its full, I really believe it's reaching its ultimate point at about 2 p.m. Eastern today. If you're feeling like, I got to point this out, like if you're feeling like something is missing right now, it's the new moon. Like it's like, right? It's a lot of that. It's like a lot of that work that we're identifying and recognizing has to do, I want to say effectively and energetically right now with, and I keep seeing, and this is where it's having a different impact across the frequencies. It's having to do with setting an intention. And what's hard when we set an intention is that we don't immediately see it, right? It's not something that is immediately clear to us. So a lot of that work, I just keep seeing, and this is why this particular like energy of the Capricorn new moon is so impactful. It's not just the setting of the manifestation today. It's the setting of the manifestation and also the clarity in recognizing what one needs to do to get oneself there, right? It's a lot of that work. It's a lot of that work in working through and identifying not just what one desires, but what it takes. So allow that right now. Like if you're feeling a little, and I have to say there may be some energy right now, particularly the energy deep, and I need to point this out, for the energy deep within divine union right now, this may be feeling like a little blah. Like it may be feeling like a little blah. If you're feeling a little blah today, that's because it's like the new template energy, right? Like, what are you going to do, right? Like, it's a lot of that. It's almost like feeling a little bit akin. I need to stress this. It feels a little akin to Mercury retrograde energy, right? A little bit of that like clean slate can sometimes feel a little energetically quiet. So start working, fill it in, like, like fill it in. It's like, think about it like a color by numbers. You got to fill it in here. While for the energy coming into divine union, there's a little bit more of a feeling of something that is reaching a point of comfortability. I can see a lot of this energy that's coming into divine union going, this is weird. Why is the energy coming into divine union feeling this like this is weird? Because this is the energy that's coming into divine union that's starting to experience what solitude feels like in companionship. It's quiet solitude. Like it's a little bit of this, like, and so again, working through that Mars retrograde, I see a lot of that energy coming into divine union being like, why does this feel weird? Right. But this is why, like, a lot of that energy is, I just keep seeing moving into something and experiencing the difference between what a manifestation feels like up here versus is here, right? Like that experience of recognizing that our manifestations are fascinating because they never feel the way that we envision them to be once we're in them. So we see even now, like, a lot of that energy is going through a lot of that in like internal, I want to say, like this internal processing. It's like the maturation process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, I'm just seeing that for a lot of that energy in separation, this is working through healing wounds of trust. And what's so difficult when we feel like we're healing wounds of trust is it feels like we're stumbling along in the dark, right? We could trip over anything at any moment, but that's why I keep seeing, is this the energy that's like running for cover in that moment? No, this is the energy that recognizes and heals via the energetic counterpart that provides the flashlight. Right? Recognizing and identifying that as long as when we're in healthy partnership, we can articulate upon our anxieties. We can articulate upon our fears, right? We can talk through them. And in the moment that we talk through them and express them, another is able to say, I'm right here with you. I am also stumbling in the dark, right? And in that moment, we create a flashlight via the ability to recognize and find oneself in alignment with someone that feels the same way that we do, right? Big theme right now, big theme. A lot of these new energetic connections, I'm telling you right now, the energetic connections that are coming into being right now during this Mars retrograde are going to be some of the most courageous combinations of people that you're going to see. Because this is the energy that is pushing against their own doubts and fears in the midst of this and allowing that intentionality to guide them. Continuing to get clarification. And I do want to clarify something because someone did correct me. I believe I said that I thought that the new moon was coming at about 2:00. Someone has articulated in the comments that the new moon is actually arriving at about 5:27 today. Eastern. Thank you so much for that clarification point. Continuing to get clarification between our Nine of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Three of Swords in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through. These cards are like so resistant today. It's ridiculous. Emperor in its reversal. So again, we're going to talk about this because I need to point out masculine and feminine right now going through the same thing. Look at this. We've got the Queen of Cups in its reversal, and we've got the Emperor in its reversal. And I need to point out, if these cards look familiar, it's because we saw these same cards in the same exact position in yesterday's spread. You can go over to my Substack if you want to see the spread. These are the same cards we received in the same exact position in their reversals. So a lot of this feeling right now, I want to describe this like there's a lot of this energy that we're seeing right now. And I wanted, the thing about it is, and I wanted, the word that's coming to mind right now for this new moon is the idea of energetically doubling down. What do we mean about energetically doubling down? Energetically doubling down, and we're experiencing this, especially with the Mars and its retrograde. It takes bravery, it takes courage to go towards our manifestations. And often in those experiences, we can have those moments that feel like they're a hit to our confidence, right? But I got to ask you right now, if you're moving towards something and you don't feel confident, Are you moving towards a manifestation so it feels good? Are you moving towards a manifestation so that it makes you feel courageous or confident? Or are you moving towards a manifestation because you know that that is what you intentionally desire, right? A lot of that work in doing so, we move towards our intentionality, and we face our own fears in the process. We have to work through them. And I see even now, like a lot of that energy here, it's having a different impact on masculine and feminine. For feminine, it has to do, I just keep seeing a lot of the feminine in that state of energetic emotional compassion. And this is why the Capricorn full moon is helping the feminine with that, because the feminine's like, I feel a lot. Why can't things move in accordance with our feelings? It'd be great, right? Like it could be so easy if everyone just moved in accordance with our own emotionality. But this is the feminine that's doing that work and saying the movement towards intentionality often feels like we have to move oppositional to our feelings, because often it's in those moments that we feel that our compassion can sometimes become an energetic obstacle, right? This is like a very nuanced lesson for a lot of the feminine energy navigating that, right? Because a lot of that work, like, it's like I want to describe it as feeling like allowing oneself to feel the sense of intentionality that we hold versus what we experience outside the self. But that's the feminine that doesn't allow, I keep saying this is not the feminine that allows their emotions to cloud their perception of what is occurring. Like that's why a lot of this energy that we're seeing right now with the new moon allows clarity, right? Because this is the feminine that says to the self, I allow the tangible space to clarify my emotions, because my emotions want to see what they want to see. The intentionality of what is around me provides the context, right? So a lot of that here, there's a lot of the energy of the feminine making peace with their emotional self in the space of saying your emotions are sacred, and holding those emotions and moving them into those avenues and opportunities of those that feel like we emotionally connect when someone shares those emotions, right? So I see even now there's a lot of this feminine energy that is healing from those pathworks or those situations where they hope that another felt the way that they did, but then making energetic peace with the sacredness of their emotions and the depth of them in the process. While for masculine energy right now, I see that a lot of the masculine energy going through that process is working through the sense or space of recognizing and identifying the work of the ego. Like I keep seeing there's so much work that the masculine energy, and I'm going to give so much credit to the masculine energy doing this work right now, because there's a lot of this masculine energy I see that recognizes, and I can see in the masculine energy going, if I want control, I have to let go of the wheel. What? Like I see a lot of the masculine energy going, if I want control, I have to let go of the wheel. Why is the masculine energy saying that? Because this is the masculine energy I see even now that works in that state or space of allowing their authentic self to guide them, right? Allowing that space of authenticity. And so we see even now that for the masculine, like allowing that inner child work, like I almost see a lot of the masculine doing that work. And there's like the healed inner child of the self that says, hey, like I can literally see a lot of the masculine energy. Like there's this like little inner child within the masculine going, hey, can I drive? And masculine being like, absolutely not. And the masculine and them being like, but why not? And being like, well, everyone will, I'm worried what someone else will say. I'm worried about how you'll make me look. I'm worried about how, and so I see even now, like there's a lot of that masculine that's processing by allowing that context of speaking to the healed inner child. And a little bit of that is like, I can almost hear the energy of the masculine, like going, like I hear almost like the masculine inner child saying why, and then like the ego saying why not. But even in the moment of the ego responding, the modality of being like others, or hearing the word saying, well, others, like, like that space or place. This is how the masculine is healing, is having those modalities of recognizing, like I keep hearing the phone call coming, where the phone call is coming from inside the house. If it's coming from the sacred self, right? Like the ego wants to say why, and the sacred self almost wants to say, well, why not? Right? And so there's a lot of that, I want to say, like a lot of that conversation that's happening right now for masculine, because I just keep hearing the masculine's ego going, why? And then the energy of the higher self going, but why not? And that's happening right now across all of the frequencies. Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Swords in its upright, in combination with our, and this is I got to tell you right now, guys, this is the difficulty today. Like this is a lot of that work that we see that may feel energetically challenging to a certain extent, because I'm just identifying and recognizing that these two here, and this is why I'm going to tell you, I'm going to just tell you right now today, nobody is allowed to feel triggered today. And it's going to be hard because it feels like there's a little bit of this. This is like the triggered energy. This is like the reactive energy. This is the energy. What happens when we feel triggered and we don't respond? We don't react to a trigger. We can explore it. We can assess it, right? Slow it down. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our, I love it. Clear seeing today, man. Today, this Capricorn new moon energy, it's all about clear seeing, right? But what's beautiful about that, it's a clear seeing of one of our own triggers, right? It's that moment where I want to say this, and this is why it's really, like, this is why I want you to be intentional today. Like that moment that you're like a little bit of that moment, like when you're about to like that moment, like, listen, I got to tell you, healing, like, if no one's told you, healing is just slowing down the process between and it's just slowing it down. Like you get that. If you get that, you're going to be in a good space, right? Because a lot of that ability of recognizing like that moment being like what I wanted to do, like what I wanted to do, but I didn't because, I mean, like a lot of that energy, right? It's that, right? And I want to say that this is because, and this is what's beautiful for the masculine energy that's doing that, is I almost feel like the masculine energy, like seeing something that feels like it triggers them and feeling the ego going to march off and just grabbing the ego and pulling the ego back and being like, do not. When you tried, and again, this is the same message we saw yesterday, masculine saying to their ego and saying, I love you, ego. I know you're here because you want to protect me. But sometimes when you're overly protective of me, you get in the way of what it is I'm trying to go towards. Right? Like I see like masculine having that healthy conversation with their ego today in some way, shape, or form, and saying again to the ego and being like, look, I love you, buddy. You're great. But when you are trying to protect me too much, you are often the reason I can't get to what it is that I'm trying to reach for, right? So there's a lot of that work that I see right now that's happening for masculine energy in having that type of conversation with the self, right? And if you're going through that, and I want to point this out, masculine, if you're seeing modalities in the past where you experienced and recognize that occurred, congratulations, because it can be frustrating, right? But it's also in that moment that we recognize that we have matured because we see something with better clarity. And for feminine energy right now, this is more the energy of the feminine that is just working through setting energetic standards. And it's painful. It stinks. I'm going to tell you right now, it stinks when you have energetic. It's no fun. I know. It's no fun. I know. Feminine energy, everyone who's setting energetic standards, I know. It can create that space where it's like, it can be very frustrating because I just keep seeing feminine energy that has to like amplify and articulate to a certain extent, that says to themselves that it's not the feminine's responsibility to have to explain their energetic standards to another. That those who understand and recognize them honor them And those that require explanation are usually in a space where they're trying to knock them down. Like it feels like a lot of that work of the feminine that's holding, like working through that can feel so difficult because it's almost the difference between someone working in that context of trying to understand something versus someone who's refusing to. Now, this is having a different impact depending on where we find ourselves on the frequency cycles. And we're going to talk a lot about that right now because we're going to talk, like I have to say, and this is the only thing I'm warning you guys about today because I'm just telling you, like there's a lot of sword energy here. We've got the 3 of Swords here, we got the 5 of Pentacles, and we've got the 8 of Swords. So it's a lot of frustration in potentially navigating another person's. This could be a lot of work that I see right now, and this is where we have to kind of navigate a place of compassion. When this Mars retrograde, if you're not in a space of absorbing it, it can make you very reactive. It can make you very volatile. If you're not working on those wounds, it's very easy to project them out onto everyone right now. And so, like, again, if you're having those moments and being like, what's gotten into everybody? I'm going to tell you right now, it's a Mars retrograde. Everyone feels like they're going around with really sensitive skin, like everything's like, but again, you're either attuned to it and you're being mindful of it, or you're experiencing it from others and you're trying to be compassionate about it. Clarification between our 5 of Pentacles and our 8 of Swords is, oh, I see what's happening here. Our Knight of Cups in its upright. A lot of it just matters just how sensitive, how energetically, it just matters like how energetically sensitive you are. Because, and I need to point this out, and this is the irony of situations, either you're energetically sensitive, right? You can notice the energy shifts and you're sensitive about them, or you don't and you become exceptionally sensitive. Right? You become exceptionally, you become extremely sensitive, right? And so it's like, again, that could be creating a lot of energy that feels more provoked, because when we're not recognizing sensitivity, but instead just channeling it as being sensitive, then we become overly sensitive and we project that sensitivity out to others, right? So I want to say something to everyone right now to kind of help through this. And you're not going to like what I'm about to tell you. We do not give love by trying to give love to another. We love each other by looking and saying, what does love mean to that person? What would that person experience? How would they perceive that? So like a lot of this work that I'm seeing even now, a little bit of that sense or space is recognizing and identifying and coming into the quality and characteristic of being, I want to say, working through that to a certain extent. And when we are energetically mindful, we don't do so, we are sensitive as to not only what we're doing, but how another person may be receiving it, or how another person may be reactive to it. So again, I want you to remember today, if you're experiencing that more in a space where someone is trying to put those burdens on you, right? I want you to be inquisitive either towards yourself or to them, right? And say like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Or say it, or and if you're feeling that to yourself, that's why we say it now, like, what am I doing? Like that space of saying, being able to articulate and identify, like a lot of that work here. And I see even now, that's why a lot of this beautiful work that we see that may be happening right now with this Capricorn new moon energy is taking a new energetic approach, right? Like that's what the Pluto and Aquarius energy challenges us to, right? Like this is like the Pluto in Capricorn is like doing something and saying, why isn't this working? I know, I'll just have to work harder. I know this isn't working. I just need to work harder, right? The Pluto in Aquarius says, this isn't working. Maybe there's a different way I could do it. Like maybe there's something different that would work in a better way, right? Like if something isn't working, you don't take the boombox and you turn it to 11 and be like, oh, maybe I just need to do it louder. you could step out of the comfort zone, be like, maybe the way I'm doing it isn't the way, maybe there's a different way to do it. Like that's become curious, right? Become receptive, actively listen, right? Let that kind of focus and guide you today. Continuing to get clarification between our moon card in its upright in combination with our emperor in its reversal. One card to clarify. And masculine, like you're going back and forth today. I just keep seeing this. There's a lot of this puttering energy. Don't lose your temper today. Okay, I know it's, and I the only thing I'm going to tell you today, whenever we have full moons, new moons, everybody's very sensitive today. So I want to tell you right now, if you're doing something today and you had intentionality behind it, great. If you're just feeling like a wild hair of an idea today, sit with it. Like, just sit with it. If it was a good idea, if it's a good idea now, tell me why it's not a good idea in 5 minutes. Is it still a good idea in tomorrow? Like, like I'm just telling you right now, if it's such a good idea, is there a reason? Like, is there a reason it needs to be today? Because a little bit of this energy here, like this is the energy, getting things done that you got your, like I told you, getting things done, like with you have your intentionality toward chef's kiss, pushing something in, like that, like working into that, like knocking something off that's been on your to-do list today. Awesome. Getting a great idea. Wonderful for brainstorming. But like they're saying brainstorm, don't barnstorm. Okay? Like brainstorm, don't barnstorm. Because there's a little bit of this energy that's like, what did I do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, like let your intentionality guide you, not like that dun, 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 kind of energy. Continuing to get clarification on this is between our Emperor energy today and our Three of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify. Yeah, Chariot in its reversal. And I gotta tell you, like, this is why there's a lot of this energy of frustration here. Like I just need to point this out because we've got, like, look at this. We've got the Three of Swords, right? And the Three of Chariot. There's a little bit of this energy that I'm seeing even now. Why isn't it working? Like, why isn't it working? Like a little bit of that, like, right? Maybe it's going to work. You just haven't thought of the way it's going to work, right? Maybe you were getting too focused on the way you thought something had to be. Maybe you got too focused on thinking that a manifestation had to come through a person. Like a lot of this work, like we heal by recognizing where our energetic healing, when our ego gets in the way. And I'm going to say this again. The ego wants when it wants it, says it can only be this way. The higher self says, why does it have to be that way? Right? The higher self is the curious. It's the energy that says there's a million different ways something can come towards you, right? Imagine that something, when you experience that blockage, I want you to stop to yourself and say, it's not that it's not coming towards me. Perhaps it's not coming towards me in the way that I expected. Perhaps there's something I need to do. Maybe I need to change my perspective. Maybe I need to see something in a different way. Maybe I need to be more energetically adaptable. Don't put your head down today. Put your head up. Look for the possibilities. Don't get frustrated. And you can have, they're saying even now, you can take that minute today. You can take that minute to say, I really wanted it to be that way. And it hurt a lot when it wasn't. But that doesn't mean it's not still coming towards me, right? Like we move towards our manifestations by being and this is what we talk about when we navigate humility, right? You can't just be confident, right? When you're confident, you can be confident walking right into a wall over and over and over again. We are energetically humble on that journey because we work towards that space of saying that when we're moving towards our manifestations, we say we're not doing it from the space of our ego. We're doing it in the journey of finding our deeper self in the process. And so a lot of that work I see even here, there's a lot of that energy that is being true to themselves in that process. And a lot of that space of honoring the self. This is the energy that builds in accordance with the alignment of identifying what one desires versus what moves one off of one's own path work, right? Because I just keep seeing that a lot of that energy is manifesting in such a way, and this is what I keep seeing, honoring one's own energetic boundaries, holding in accordance with one's own self, saying to one's own self that that ability of doing so, for both masculine and feminine, I feel like this is why I see to this, like there's separate journeys that are occurring. Because for masculine energy on that journey, I see that a lot of the masculine energy at this time is healing from those modalities and forgiving themselves and saying, like, I'm sorry. Like this is the masculine that's holding a lot of this inner child work and saying to the self, I realize and I forgive you. Like I forgive you, ego, for those moments that you were trying to protect me. Right? And this is why it feels like a maturation process when we start to heal, because we tap our ego on the shoulder and we say, I can take it from here, right? Like, I can take it from here. It's okay. You can move aside. I know you're trying to be my bodyguard, but I can take it from here, right? Because it's that moment that when we're able to speak towards the ego, that the ego starts to move. Like we don't just move where the ego sends us. The ego works in our favor. It works with us. So that's what we talk about when we integrate our energy within the self, right? It's like that's where we come into that ability. While for feminine right now, a lot of that work that I'm seeing has to do with the feminine energy that is building upon and based upon working through that compassion via the healthy boundaries, right? And this is the feminine that says my emotions are a blessing. But my own ability of navigating, my own ability of recognizing and identifying, not just giving my emotions to another as a problem to solve, right? But doing that internal work, investigating my emotionality, that isn't overthinking, right? That's not saying that the emotions are the problem, but it is seeking the reason that the emotions arise so that that way we can communicate healthier with our partners and moving towards our manifestation goals. And even when we feel frustration and something that's not working, we work through those emotions and then we continue forward, right? So there's a little bit of this work I see today, which is like honoring the emotions that one feels and then moving forward, like giving it that moment of feeling the feelings and being like, you get 5 minutes and then allowing oneself to continue forward, right? Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Wands in combination with our Knight of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. I love it. It's a Tower in its reversal. And this is beautiful, right? Right? It's because I have to point this out. The abandonment wounds, they don't go away. They're not going anywhere. You're always going to have them. It's not about not having an abandonment wound. It's not about not being triggered. Being healed is just how you navigate it, right? Being healed is just what occurs in those moments that you experience it. Do you make it others' problem? Do you say, I'm having a bad day? I'm going to make it my job that everyone else has one around me? Or do you hold that within? Do you say that is something that exists within me, right? And our own power of articulating and feeling the sense of how we feel, and then choosing, making that voluntary choice in how we express those emotions. That is the path work in identifying how far we've energetically healed. And a lot of it, it's not separating oneself from the emotions, it's embracing them. It's allowing oneself to feel to absorb the expanse of them. Doesn't mean you disassociate from them. It means you integrate them. Continuing to get clarification between our Temperance card in its reversal in combination with our Chariot in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Pentacles in its reversal. Now, I'm going to say it again. This is having a different impact depending on where we find ourselves on the frequency cycles. Now, For feminine energy right now, this is a lot. I want to say there's a lot of energetic frustration that I see that is occurring right now. And a lot of that work has to do with with what one aspires and desires versus and how one feels, right? And I want to say that I see a lot of the feminine energy right now working through the lack mentality, right? The energetic lack mentality is such that says, I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't have it, right? But I want you to recognize that, again, when we're moving in pathwork of perfection, there's always going to feel like a bit of that lack. It's not that we move away from that lack, but we also recognize and identify, we hold gratitude for how far we've come. So if you're in feminine energy right now and you're feeling that, then your rule for today is every time you say to yourself, I'm missing, I don't have it, I want you to say, this is how far I've come. Look at the energetic progress. This is what I've found. Because a little bit of this measuring that I see even now is helping to navigate. I mean, I have to point this out, like a bit of this new moon, it feels like a bit of void energy. But when we take that void energy and we move it into a clean slate, right? When we move it into that space of like looking at that, like I don't want you to feel it like a void. I want you to feel it like a clean slate, right? Imagine the possibilities, if you will, right? Allow that to kind of guide a lot of your work today. And for a lot of this energy right now, I have to say, especially in separation, I want you to recognize and say to oneself, I don't have what I would desire. I want you to say instead, anything is possible. I am in a space of infinite possibilities, right? Because that ability of moving into that space where you don't look and say, I wish I had, but say anything is possible and I'm moving towards that by setting my intention to it, allows for that modality of clarity between how we feel and what we see. For masculine right now in separation, I see that same work that happens in the masculine, healing from those experiences that says, I'm looking for an energetic counterpart that can build into a point of stability. Right? And this is the masculine. It reminds themselves and says that the energy around us acts as mirrors. If we're seeking stability, then we provide stability, right? That the gift that we give one another is not looking for something outside of the self, but what we give that allows for that ability of another to meet us there. So we see even now, like continuing to work through some of this Mars retrograde that says or often makes us feel like those modalities or those waves of not feeling the courage or confidence. That's when we allow our intentionality to guide us. And we see even now, I'll tell you right now, like the reason this is a little triggering today, and I don't want anyone to get triggered today, is that we see both masculine and feminine both feeling a little bit ungrounded with some of this void energy. But that's why I want you to say in yourself instead, anything is possible. And move with intentionality through it instead of reacting to it. While continuing for the energy deeper into divine union or coming into divine union right now, I'm just seeing that a lot of this work that's being facilitated upon has to do with navigating and being gentle with one another in the process as you move deeper into divine union, right? Because for masculine and feminine energy right now, a lot of that work I see is recognizing, and this is what happens when we come into a maturation process. We sometimes feel bad because we suddenly recognize that how far we've come before we had those breakthroughs, to which I'm going to say again, for energy experiencing that, masculine energy, you are always on time. You are never late for your own journey. And feminine, you are getting stronger every day, right? There's a lot of that. I see a lot of this energy that's looking back on the past and saying, what if you are not the same person from that past. The ability to navigate forward has to do with consistency. So honor yourself today if you recognize that you've set that benchmark for yourself and allow that to be the ground from which you build. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, I feel like a lot of this energy right now, deep within divine union, is navigating one's own, and it's very similar to the energy we see right now coming into divine union, but a little bit of this has more to do. I feel like there's a lot of energy right now deep within divine union that feels like they're refining upon their pathwork of purpose, right? And it's hard when we come into those modalities because a lot of that, and this is why I see even now, masculine is opening that up. I see almost masculine being like, why must I have just one purpose? And I see feminine doing the opposite, saying, why must I separate that purpose? How can I align something so that I feel like I'm moving towards something more effectively? So this is interesting because I told you even now the masculine and feminine both doing that work in different ways today, but it's coming out. It's coming out in a way that presents differently, right? Continuing to get clarification between our chariot energy in its reversal and this tower card in its reversal. And I like seeing these two together. I like seeing these two together because this is, I got to tell you right now, this energy here, this is integrity. Right here, these two cards together is integrity. Can I get one card, please? I love it. We've got our 10 of Swords in its upright. And again, I want to point out, we started the day today with a lot of that heavy energy. I need to point out that combination of the 3 of Swords, the 5 of Pentacles, the 8 of Swords. Everything has a solution. Everything has a solution. And that space, like I see it even now, a lot of that is the work of recognizing and identifying. And I need to keep saying, being in that space or working through that modality of being energetically present. And I keep seeing a lot of this energy right now. Masculine and feminine, deep within divine union, are getting out of their own way. Why are the energies getting out of their own way, right? Because this is the masculine. Like I'm going to say it even now. This is more of the masculine that's continuing to say that work to the self and says, when I allow my ego to guide me, it often prevents me from seeing things clearly, right? Like I keep on describing the thing with the ego is like a shield. When it's built up too quick, it's really good at protecting, but you can't see over it. You can't see what's actually happening, right? So what a lot of this masculine energy is saying, when I build a healthy relationship with my ego and I get it down to a healthy size, I can see over it and I can be discerning as to when I use it. It's a healthy shield, right? It's a healthy shield. It's not gone entirely, but I make the conscious choice. I make the conscious choice as to when I wield it, right? The ego that rises forth when it is called, like not that's guiding you, like it's not like you're trying to chase after it. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not like, it's going anywhere that it needs to go. While for feminine energy, this is a feminine energy that says to themselves that when I focus and I feel too comfortable and I don't want to move out of my comfort zone, I'm allowing my emotions to dictate the direction instead of seeing things with clarity, right? That's why all of that Taurus energy was coming through the other day, right? But I like it this way. It's comfortable. Yeah, but is it working? You know what I mean? Like, it's not about what's comfortable. It's about what's energetically working. So we see even now that this is the feminine that's getting more focused and being like, all right, I got to knuckle down. I got to allow, like, feel the feelings, and then just get to, like, just do it. Like, just do the hard part. You know what I mean? And we see this is happening across all of the frequencies right now. And effectively, even now, like a lot of that energy, especially for the energy in separation, this is more, and this is why I'm seeing even now, this is why it's so important for the energy in separation, because this is the energy of the feminine. And just like I said, that journey, like that journey of the masculine that looks to the ego and says, hey, buddy, I love you, but like when you're too big, you literally ruin things for us. Like, I know you don't mean to. You've just got, like, you've got big hands. Like, you're just, you're accidentally breaking things. Like, the feminine is looking at their emotions and they're saying, listen, baby, I love you, emotions. I love you. You are me. But you can cloud judgment. You sometimes can't see things clearly because you feel so much. It's hard to actually see what's happening, girlfriend. I adore you. Like I love you, but listen, we need to navigate not just in the thing of what we desire to feel, but what we see is actually happening. Right? So we see even now like a lot of that gift of clarity, but it's not pushing being like, I'm just never going to feel that again. It's embracing the parts of ourselves that sometimes move us in a direction that's oppositional to what it is that we want to manifest. Final card for today's spread between our Queen of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Ten of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. We've got here our Nine of Wands in its upright. So there's a lot of healing that I see is coming through today. And I want to say a lot of that work, and the reason this may feel a little bittersweet today is it is work. This Capricorn full new moon is about honoring the wound, right? It's about honoring the energetic wound, right? And when we come into that space, and I need to stress that what we do when we honor a wound, right? When we honor a wound, we don't ignore it, right? When we honor a wound, we don't pretend we don't have one, right? When we honor a wound, we allow ourselves to experience what we feel. And we say to ourselves, I honor that pain because I learned from it, right? I honor that pain because I learned from it. And I was very curious about where Chiron is right now, because this is very heavy in Chiron. And that ability of saying, this wound is energetically sacred. I wish I did not have it, but I honor what I've learned through it, right? Like a lot of that work we see even now, this is a lot of that energy that's building into, and it's having a different impact. This is what is now creating the space. This is energy right now that's building into new partnerships by articulating upon that wound and finding another that honors it. Because when we're healing, and we're healing in spaces that are supportive of us, what we're effectively doing is we are finding someone that honors our wounds, which doesn't create new wounds, right? Doesn't pretend a wound is there, but says, I will treat that, or it doesn't prescribe what needs to happen to the wound, most importantly, but says, thank you for telling me it's there. I will address it the way that you feel is best. I will honor it by honoring how you desire for it to be energetically treated, right? Like this is how we honor one another, is we become active listeners to one another in that process. That is how we heal. So I see even now there's a lot of that work with energy and separation that feels the anxiety, the fear. Oh no, the past is happening again. This feels really similar to something that I experienced before. What does the energy do? I'm feeling triggered right now. Why are you feeling triggered? This is why. What can I do? Right? This is the energy that immediately experiences in the articulation, in the expression of the wound, the clarity as to whether they're creating and building with someone that honors the energetic wound or someone that says, you're being ridiculous. You're out of your mind. What are you talking about? I'm not doing that. Why are you putting that on me? Why are you so sensitive? What's going on? The minute we have those modalities where we recognize and address and we feel that sense of being able to be present and hear that space of what another is saying to us. Like this, I see even now, this is the bridge that is being built between these new energies in separation via the space of, again, either being in separation and saying that my wound, like that is the space of saying, I honor my energetic wound and I'm seeking someone that honors it in kind, right? Or these are energies that are actively building in that modality with someone. And in the moment that they do so, they start to heal the wounds of trust because it is in the articulation of how one is feeling and someone being respectful of it that we find energetic alignment. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, I'm just seeing that for a lot of that energy coming into divine union right now, facilitating on that work. This is the energy that looks towards partnership in a way that they haven't before, because this isn't just energy that finds themselves in partnership. This is the energy that feels the preciousness of that partnership. And this is why it's so difficult to come into divine union, because if they're going through those modalities that they hold something energetically precious and someone around them does not feel the same way, then this is the energy that recognizes that the true journey of coming into divine union almost feels like maturation, because you recognize the changes around you as you come into the space of those who are appreciative of it versus those who feel like they're oppositional to it, right? Like the beauty of love is one that we don't hold each other in a place of bitterness if we see another person growing or evolving. We feel that amplification of joy and harmony. So I see even now like a lot of that energy almost saying to themselves that they're doing that. I hope to see them there someday. I hope they'll change their minds. I hope they'll look at something in a different way, because this is the energy that I keep seeing moving into divine union, saying we're not doing it for effect. We're not doing it to see what's happening outside of ourselves. We're doing it because we're energetically affected. While for energy right now that is deep within divine union, a lot of this work I see, it's healing, it's being kinder to oneself in the process. You know, and this is a lot of that energy. I want to say even now, for feminine, it's navigating through frustrations, but being compassionate for oneself on the way. And I want to say even now, for a lot of the energy of the feminine in divine union, you know, like the feminine, I can see the feminine being hard on themselves, but remembering and being a little bit energetically easement, right? Like giving one another kindness on that journey. Like there's a lot of that energy that says that when we're hard on each other, hard on ourselves, it's because we hold ourselves to a high standard. So this is why I'm going to say even now, if there's feminine energy of feminine right now that's working through or feeling a lot of that lack, because sometimes this like new moon energy can bring on a lot of those feelings of lack. I want you to think less of this as the void where something is missing. I want you to look at it instead as anything is possible. Similarly for masculine. Masculine, if you're going through any of those feelings of I'm not good enough, I want to remind you again that like this is a void moon. It's a new moon. So sometimes it can create that feeling of lack. I want you to again say to yourself, this is like if there's something that's missing, like let that inspire you. Like let that become like a space where you can imagine what is possible, and let that kind of set the template that you're setting for yourself going forward. Bottom of the deck on today's reading is, I love it. We've got here our Wheel of Fortune energy. Oh man, this on the bottom of the deck is like, it's a lot, because I'm just seeing that a lot of that work that we're facilitating upon, it's being very, when we say anything is possible, I wanted you to say anything can be. Okay, I'm going to correct that. Sorry. Anything can be possible, right? And that sense of can is, again, not just waiting for something to arrive. Manifestations are, I'm going to say it again, manifestations are not wishes. And the reason a manifestation is not a wish is because we move in accordance to it. So if you're feeling if you're working right now, I'm going to say it again, the major theme, and this is why it's a Capricorn new moon, is remembering and saying to yourself, if you're manifesting today, I also want you to say, this is what I'm going to do to move towards a manifestation. This is what I'm going to stop doing that is stopping the manifestation from coming through. And that's hard, right? Because it requires a lot of clarity. But again, giving yourself the patience as you do so is what is effectively allowing for that state or space wherein, again, that amplification of possibility is not one that takes your breath away, but invigorates you in the process. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and sharing in these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. Booking a private reading with me is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings for today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the strength card. I had such a good time teaching you guys about that card. The next class we will be holding will be on Wednesday, January 15th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with an exploration into the Hermit card. I am so excited about this card. It is one of my favorite cards. It is a very, very compelling card. It's very interesting. We are going to talk about the symbiology of that card, the history of the card. I'm going to go through spread application, how you can read it in all of its directions. And we'll also be providing you a unique spread that is focused on channeling the information that is accessed via the Hermit card. And if you'd like to become a part of that class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. It will also grant you access to the full library of Tarot Church classes. That is over 9 hours worth of classwork that is available to you as a subscriber. You will also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we have learned thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only do you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your benefit, moving towards your tarot goals moving forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's something there for everyone. So I want to thank you and regardless of your level. So I want to thank you so much if you're already joining us there, and I look forward to seeing you at our next class. And if you are a subscriber to our TikTok channel, make sure that you head over to the subscriber only Discord channel that is available to you as a subscriber. There you will find a very special coupon code that will give you an additional discount to that Substack subscription. Even if you don't become a subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings, services. I post my weekly newsletter there as well, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified as to any giveaway information. And speaking about giveaways, congratulations to the winner of our November giveaway. I've listed the winner over on my newsletter. You can head over there if you want to see if you won. Congratulations if you did win. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my clients that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. These classes are for those. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are customized per each and every client. They can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.